everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is because everything would be what it isn't. Remember when Alice said that before her absurd journey through Wonderland? Well, sea cucumbers seem to be designed to live in this world of hers. When most people hear sea cucumber, they probably imagine a pimply green fruit that just happens to grow underwater. And yes, you heard correctly, botanists claim that the cucumber is a fruit. Or if you're like me, you immediately think of Kevin Sea Cucumber, leader of the Jelly Spotters. If you know what I'm talking about, thumb this video up. Very few people know that the sea cucumber is not a fruit, but a living thing. But when you look at this creature, you wouldn't believe it at first. After all, it doesn't have any limbs or even eyes. On the other hand, these animals do have different internal organs and orifices for feeding and excrement. Ew. There are well over 1,000 sea cucumber species. So chances are that whatever color, size, or shape you imagine, you'll find a sea cucumber within these parameters. They're unique and bizarre beings because they can eject and regrow their intestines and hibernate in the summer. Young cucumbers can actually be severed in half without any risk to their life. And when it's time for the animal to die, it releases a chemical that dissolves its body without a trace. For centuries, people in Asia have considered these animals a rare delicacy. Due to the high cost of these creatures, only the richest people could afford to enjoy this treat. Nowadays, producers dry sea cucumbers and pack them in fancy boxes, and people give them as a gift or serve them at important events. The more unusual the animal looks, the higher its price. The most valued are spiky specimens such as Japanese sea cucumbers. Several pounds of them will cost you more than $3,500. Yikes! On the other hand, it isn't the most expensive type of sea cucumber. There are also extremely rare albino ones. One 7-ounce white cucumber can cost approximately $16,000, which is substantially pricier than the same volume of gold. Yep, it's more valuable than gold. Among 200,000 usual sea cucumbers, there will only be one albino. On top of that, white sea cucumbers don't pass this feature on to their offspring. But it's probably for the better because white specimens tend to fall prey to predators at a young age. Their white skin doesn't provide them with the camouflage needed for protection. Some people believe that it's precisely albino sea cucumbers that can give us amazing health benefits. Rumor has it that they can even cure some types of cancer. But even if you order a common species of sea cucumber on the internet, you'll have to part with at least $150 just for one plate. Their value isn't merely in their unusual taste or odd look. The thing is that these creatures' skin has a high amount of fucosylated glycosaminoglycan. This stuff helps people treat different joint problems like arthritis, and it reduces blood clots. Unfortunately, the more people harvest sea cucumbers, the rarer these creatures become. That's why 7 of the 70 exploited species have already gotten the endangered status. This also leads to a serious increase in their price. Sea cucumbers are incredibly unique creatures. But interestingly enough, they aren't the only animals that don't look like, well, living beings. Let's check out some more masters of disguise. The orchid mantis. At first glance, you'll be 100% sure you're looking at a beautiful flower. But you'll probably change your mind after witnessing this flower catch flies and start munching on them. The truth is that this orchid is an insect, not some carnivorous plant. Its lovely orchid-like disguise is so convincing that you'll have a tough time trying to distinguish this mantis from real flowers. Entomologists believe that this flowery disguise serves 2 purposes. The orchid mantis can hide from potential predators as well as lure their prey into a beautiful but deadly trap. Walking sticks. What most of us call walking sticks, stick bugs, or stick insects are actually known as phasmatodines in the entomology world. These strange-looking critters look exactly like twigs until one of them decides to walk away from under your hand. And if you try to stop this little branch from getting away, it'll simply leave one of its limbs in your hand. If an injured insect is young, it regenerates the missing leg when it molts. But some adult walking sticks can also make themselves molt to regrow a lost limb. What's even stranger, young stick bugs typically consume their molted exoskeleton to recycle the protein. Another cool fact about walking sticks is that they can play dead to avoid being eaten. When an insect feels threatened, it drops to the ground and keeps perfectly still. After that, predators like mice or birds usually fail to spot the stick bug and leave it alone. Sea sponge. This creature looks more like a common household cleaning tool than something that can evolve and grow. But appearances are deceptive, and the sea sponge is actually a living being. It doesn't have any internal organs, but it does have a network of internal channels that pump water through its body. This way, the animal can feed on the filtered food particles. If something goes wrong and a sponge's cells get broken apart, they can always get back together and create a new sponge. Sand dollars. Sand dollars are, in fact, extremely flat sea urchins. In souvenir shops on the beach, dried sand dollars look like simple white discs, but alive ones are round-shaped purple creatures with tiny spines. They use these spines to catch and move their prey, such as crab larvae and plankton, into their mouths. Luckily for sand dollars, they don't have many edible parts. Pink sea stars, starry flounders, and ocean pouts seem to be the only ones interested in these little guys. By the way, sea cucumbers and sand dollars are actually close relatives. Leaf katydid. Also known as the long-horned grasshopper or bush cricket, one of the coolest things about leaf katydids is their ability to sing to each other by rubbing their front wings together. But what's even more fascinating is that they're unbeatable masters of camouflage. Most of them just look like green leaves. These creatures are so skilled that some of them can even mimic blemishes on the leaves which they use for hiding. However, you can also come across pink or yellow katydids. These insects aren't particularly large, but some species can grow up to 4.7 inches long. Dead leaf moth. Dubbed Europaea meticuloidina in the scientific community, this insect doesn't just look like a leaf, but a dry, curled-up brown one. This creature's wingspan reaches an incredible 6 inches. And as you may have already guessed, its favorite pastime is pretending to be a dead leaf. If someone or something disturbs the moth, it drops to the ground just like a falling leaf. If you look at this insect, you'll notice that it has markings that resemble leaf veins. Also, it has ragged edges which make the disguise even more convincing. Giant tube worms. This worm looks nothing like the kind you imagine sprinkling the ground on a rainy day. To some extent, these creatures are almost beautiful. They resemble some exotic underwater flowers. Tube worms depend on bacteria that live inside their bodies to feed. Without the help of these bacteria, the worms wouldn't be able to get nutrients from the water. Actually, these animals do have stomachs early on in their lives, and they need it to consume the bacteria that'll later help them digest food. But afterward, when they grow their exoskeletons, they don't need to eat ever again. Which of these masters of disguise impressed you the most? Let's discuss it in the comments down below. Remember to give this video a like, share it with your friends, and hit the subscribe button to stay on the bright side of life.